All right, former Vice President Joe Biden has a 20-point lead in South Carolina, according to a new early state poll. Biden sits at 37% in the latest Winthrop University poll. He's ahead of Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren at 17%, and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who rounds out the top three at 8%. However, over half of South Carolina Democratic voters said they may change their minds for the upcoming February primary. Joining us now, filmmaker Michael Moore and professor of history at Tulane University, Walter Isaacson, is with us.
It's great to have you guys with us. Michael, let me just say, starting this segment, that the father of one of my son's friends was wearing a Detroit Tigers T-shirt last week, and I said, God, I love and respect people who are not sunshine patriots. So walk on, Michael Moore, with your Tigers.
It's truly the underdog team this year. That's for certain. By the way, I was just asking these guys: do you just keep going talking about baseball just to upset Mika? Is this the?
Yes,
it is, isn't it?
It works too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
so don't
works.
let it work. Just continue. You should just pick up your device or read the paper whenever they go to sports.
I clean my purse.
Clean your
She goes through the purse, and she has the most organized purse in the fall, because that's when we really start talking about it.
Unbelievable.
So Michael, the question is whether Democrats in 2020, like 2016, will snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. What do you think?
It's always possible. Every Democrat or anybody who's thinking of voting for the Democrat, which I hope is everybody, must think from every day from today until November 3rd next year that it is possible for Trump to pull it off. You have to think like that. Whether too many liberals, I think, want to just feel good, and there's no time for that. We have to behave as if the worst could happen. It's just like what's going on now with impeachment. I mean, this all looks very cut and dry, because it is. As Rachel Maddow last night on Colbert explained it very simply to the American public, he did it, he admitted it, now he will be impeached. That's pretty much the way this should go. I see the Steadicam guy has just moved in here. If on the way out I took that camera from him, stole it from MSNBC, and you all saw me do it, it's pretty clear that I just lifted it. And I can try to spin it any way I want, but we saw what happened. They admitted it. They provided the details for how it happened. What more is there that we need to do other than to have this impeachment as soon as possible? When I hear, they think it's like, look, we could do this by the end of the year. By the end of the year, by Halloween. This is what is the point of any investigation? This is, if the Democrats go to do Mueller 2, that ain't going to play well, and they're going to lose the momentum that they need. It's so rare, Joe, for us to be this far ahead of ourselves. Let Trump and his people figure this out and try to catch up. These people are evil geniuses, and they are not stupid, and I have ultimate respect for their ability to get away with anything.
Geniuses.
Evil geniuses.
Wow. You define geniuses differently than
Here's how I define genius. I have no idea how to lose the election and then somebody hand me the keys to the Oval Office. That is pure. No Democrat, no liberal knows how to lose by 3 million votes and then be allowed into the White House. I respect that.
You also have a guy like Dr. Evil who wants to now put lasers on sharks in moats around the wall. So again, I'm baffled by it all. So Walter Isaacson. So we have Michael Moore saying, "Hey, let's move forward quickly." There are a lot of Democrats who feel that way, feeling burned by the Mueller investigation, and Donald Trump constantly undercutting that investigation every step of the way. You have on the other side Bob Woodward this morning coming on our show saying, wait a second, you're just getting and Bob Woodward, of course, has talked to everybody in the administration and beyond. So I have a feeling he knows about some dirt out there that a lot of us don't know about. But Bob Woodward, on the other hand, is saying, wait, don't rush. You're just looking through a small keyhole with a very limited phone call. There's a lot out there that you don't know about that actually could lead not only to impeachment, but removal from office. So how do Democrats balance those two competing interests?
Well, I'm a little bit more on the side of let's just move ahead with it. We know what we know, and it's pretty clear what happened. He's admitted it. This, to me, is part of a pattern of just deep corruption of using the office of the presidency for his own political purposes and even for his own financial purposes, you know, making people stay at his hotels and and it's just that swampy corruption that he ran against. This is emblematic of it, of using the State Department, using his personal lawyers and all, to try to have a foreign government interfere in an election. I don't know what else you need to know in order to say that's something we're going to impeach him on, and that is already clear. I think once that happens, you're going to have a trial in the Senate. Now, of course, the Senate is controlled by Republicans. I think as that trial goes on, the pace of it may take a very long time. And if Bob Woodward or anybody else has more information to throw in, that's the time to do it, is when he goes on trial in the Senate.
So, Michael, how does, let's say, an impeachment in the House and a failure to convict in the Senate, how does that impact voters you know very well in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania? You, after all, were one of the few people who agreed with us before 2016 that Donald Trump could win. So I ask, how does that impact those voters, first of all? And secondly, why is it that Democrats are still disconnected with so many working class voters that you know in Michigan and have grown up with?
The first question, I think that that people where I live in Michigan are disgusted with what has happened and what they've learned in the last week or so, and I have not heard it being discussed along partisan lines. This is in the Midwest, I think, in the Middle America, there's just we operate with common sense and a sense of decency of we know what's right and we know what's wrong. Here's what's wrong. It's wrong to, if you were to help another country attack this country, that's maybe the worst thing you could do as an American, let alone being as president. The next worst thing is to do something to interfere with our right to vote and decide and not have it be interfered with lies, propaganda, any other shenanigans that might go on. And you can see right away that President Trump is hell-bent on a repeat of 16 because they know that's the only way they can win is to cheat, is to gimmick it, is to hedge it up a little bit, because they can't win on their own, because the majority of Americans, I've said this to you on the show before, the majority of Americans take the liberal position on virtually every issue, whether it's minimum wage, gun control, climate change, paying women the same as men. Americans are actually, they won't call themselves liberal, but they are liberal when it comes to the issues. So the working class of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, they already came out, first of all, last November. We brought them out because we put ballot measures that brought them out. We didn't depend on politicians anymore to get out the vote. In Michigan, we made it illegal. We put it on the ballot, make it illegal to gerrymander or voter suppress. That passed by 61%. That returned thousands of African American and Hispanic voters to the polls last November. And for young people, we got the legalizing marijuana ballot proposal, and that passed. And we almost doubled the youth vote from the last off-year election. That's how we did it. That's how Democrats have to do it this time. They've got to get the base out. I know you want to, Thanksgiving's coming up. You're going to want to convince your conservative brother-in-law who's still for Trump, eat your dinner. Don't waste your time on this. It's too much energy. We need to expend our energy on what the true working class vote is, because the majority of working class Joe these days, it's not Lunch Bucket Joe from Macomb County. It's the majority of working class are women, they're people of color, and they are young. They're the lowest wage earners in this society. And those three groups make up almost 70% of next year's electorate.
Yeah.
Women, people of color, young adults. All attention should be focused on that, and let's make sure there's a candidate on the ballot so when they wake up on election morning.
Willie, so that leads me perfectly to my next question, which is your analysis of the state of the field. We just showed a poll in South Carolina with Biden up by 20 points, much closer in Iowa and New Hampshire. Elizabeth Warren had a great summer, surging into the fall. You said yesterday, you were talking with Ari Melber, you said Biden is the center. He's this year's Hillary, expressing concerns that he's not appealing enough to the base. So does that mean you believe Elizabeth Warren would be a better nominee this time around?
Than Joe Biden?
Yes.
And Bernie. If you failed to mention in that Bernie is virtually tied with Biden in Nevada, which is the third state in the primaries and caucuses. Bernie is, just about every poll shows him number one with Hispanics, number one with 18 to 35. We should be still discussing Bernie. Sure. He raised, in the money from the last quarter, the contributions that still come in for him, the grassroots enthusiasm.
Right.
Young people, when they wake up on that election morning next year, I need them to feel like the young people felt in 08 with Obama. You couldn't wait to get to the polls to vote for Obama. Nobody, I'm sorry, and I like Joe Biden, he's a nice guy, but nobody's waking up that day thinking, I can't wait to vote for Joe Biden.
But do you think
they will think, I can't wait to get rid of Donald Trump if we haven't already gotten rid of him?
If Donald Trump on the ballot is not enough to energize the base, no matter who the nominee
is. It's a negative,
is,
though. It's a negative.
You don't think they'll come out and vote against Donald Trump, even if they have to bite their tongue a little for Joe Biden?
Here's what I think. Please don't. I'm sorry I made that prediction that he was going to win, and he was going to win by those three states, because now I get asked all the time. But I honestly believe, just traveling the country, and especially in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, whether it's Biden or whoever, I think that the popular vote, Hillary won by 3 million. The Democrat next year is going to win by 4 to 5 million votes in the popular vote. That's how many people are going to come out, because they are totally energized to stop Trump. But that's not the smart strategy. We didn't get rid of the Electoral College after Gore when we should have. We didn't get rid of it after Hillary. And damn it, this is going to happen again, where the American people say, we want the Democrat, and then the Democrat isn't in the White House. So there has to be a strategy, as long as we have the Electoral College, that we win the Electoral College. What do we do to bring out the people that stayed home in Michigan, in Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania? That's where I think the real problem was in 2016, now that people have really analyzed what happened.
Walter, Michael mentioned Macomb County, Wayne County, Detroit, suburbs of Detroit. Tell us about your region of the country, where you are right now. You're in New Orleans, in terms of who is on the ballot as a Democrat a year from this November. Does it matter as much as just the need for change that voters are going to feel compelled to want to make?
Yeah, I think it matters, but unfortunately I'm not on the side of Michael Moore in this very case. We got a governor's race coming up in a couple of weeks. We have a very good Democratic governor who's raised the minimum wage, fought for social justice, but he's not part of what you would call the activist left, especially on things like right to life and abortion. And I think we have to be a big tent, and I want states like Louisiana to be able to come. So I'm in favor of energizing a base, sure, but I think we need to get the person who would be the most competent, good president, and I do think that means a big tent person, so I'm on the other side of this discussion.
Yeah, totally agree. So our thanks to Michael Moore this morning for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael. Go Tigers.
All right.
Sorry, hey, Michael, listen, let's talk about, just for Mika's sake, let's talk about the Tigers and what moves they need to make in the offseason. Mika, you can start.
Bring back Verlander and Scherzer. How about that? Why did we let them go?
No, what I'm going to do.
What is that?
What I'm going to do
Dave Dombrowski.
is end the show.
Yes.
That does it for us this morning. Stephanie Rule picks up the coverage.
She's cut us off, Michael.
3 minutes.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.